let me take this opportunity to welcome you to our today's session, which is athletics track event competition technical infringement. Our presenter today is Betty Kagendo, supported by Tom Musinde. So I will ask Betty to just join and probably introduce herself and her colleague whom they will be presenting to us this afternoon. If we don't have your, if you did not get a direct invitation, you can have your, type in your phone number in the chat box so that we can save it. And next time you can get the link directly. Of course, this is one of the first of this kind of session that we are offering. We've always done coaching, but this is now going to technical issues. And I believe we are here to learn and learn, of course, from the experts, who today we have Betty and Tom. So Betty, kindly take over and welcome.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Betty Kagendo. I'm going to be a facilitator this afternoon. A little bit about myself. I'm a certified World Athletics referee in the year 2022. I've officiated in national, continental, and international championships. Naming some of them, All African Games in Nairobi, in Morocco. I've also participated in World Athletics Championships World Under 18, which was done in Nairobi in 2017. I officiated as a referee in World Athletics Under 20 in 2021. And several World Athletics Continental Gold Series, like the Kip Keino Classic, the Sirikwa Cross Country Series, all the way from 2021 up to 2023. And recently, I participated in the Commonwealth Games, which were held in Birmingham last year in 2022, and we are looking forward to other invitations in the future. Apart from officiating, I also like empowering athletes and coaches, because there's a very strong link between athletes, the coaches, and the referees. Without the three of them, there is nothing called an athletics meet. Thank you. Ogola, back to you.
Thanks, Betty. And we also have Tom. Tom Musinde.
Hello, John, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. You are too low.
Okay.
Check on your volume.
Let me check on my volume.
You're still very low. Can't hear you. And for those who are not talking, kindly mute.
Right now? Right now,
Not quite.
My volume is 100%. This is Tom.
Yes, Tom, you saying you are 100%?
I was saying the volume is 100%.
Yeah, now it's now it sounds better.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You can proceed. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Tom Musinde. I will go by the title Warrant Officer to Tom Musinde, HSC, which is a head of state accommodation. And I was an athlete, specifically 100 meters sprinter, from 2003 until 2015. And I've been the national record holder for Kenya from 2007 up to 2000 and up to around 2012. I've participated in various events representing the country in African championships, in all African games, and also in the national competitions within the country. And apart from that, I've now retired from active athletics, and I've joined also officiating. I'm an official, certified level 1 World Athletics official, and also certified coach, level 1 also, World Athletics, and also currently working with Kenya Defense Forces, and also in conjunction affiliated also to Athletics Kenya. So that is me, Tom Musinde. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Tom and Betty. Of course, our listeners, you had a briefly about those who will be presenting to us today, and I don't want to take more time, but to just ask the two to proceed with the presentation this afternoon. I hope we can have questions at the end, questions and answers at the end. And of course, if there's any question, you can put it on the chat box so that the presenters can be responding as we go, or they can respond later when at the end of the session. Otherwise, Tom and Betty, welcome. I don't know who will go first.
I will go first. Tom. Thank you, John. Today's topic, we'll be discussing about competition, technical infringements. But before we delve into the topic, we'll just like to define some of the names or words that are affiliated to the topic of today. First of all, there are different people who are involved in athletics. We have an athlete and also we have an official. And I would like just to go ahead and define an athlete. An athlete is any person who enters for or participating in athletics event. That is an athlete. So we are defining these people so that at least once we go through the infringements, we will know who are the ones maybe involved in a particular area when an infringement occurs. And then we also have athletics. Athletics is a sporting event that includes maybe track and field, road running, race walking, cross country, mountain running, and also trail running. These are the events mostly involved in athletics. And also we have the competition. When we say there's a competition, what do we mean exactly? Competition, this is an activity or condition of striving to gain or win something by defeating or gaining superiority over another person. So that is a competition. And then we have the technical and also the infringement. The technical part of it is just relating to a particular subject, as we are relating to this subject of today, the competition, technical infringement. And then the infringement itself is just a violation, maybe breaking of the terms of laws in any activity. So that is the infringement part of it. Now, before we go further with the rules or the matters infringement and the technical part of it, we have the rules. Rules are they're being brought about to govern or protect whatever is being done within the field of play, or also to govern whatever activities that are being done in any sporting activity or any sporting event. And then we have the official. Official here, we describe an official as a person who is elected or appointed, can be given an appointment or can be elected by World Athletics or to represented by World Athletics, otherwise including, but not limited, maybe to the council or maybe the board of members or members of the disciplinary tribunal, members of the integrity board. So these ones are the ones who make and compose and also make sure that there's success in the competition. Now, that is just about the competition technical infringement that I wanted to explain, so that now when we go into the other part of it, we are going to understand more on how these particular definitions that I've put across are involved within the field of play and within athletics as a whole. So maybe Ogola, you can take me to the next slide.
So I was saying that our aim is to just assist the athletes so that they don't make infringements as they go on with their competitions. And we are going to look at areas where athletes can get fouled, sometimes due to their own mistakes or maybe due to some lack of information. And so we are going to look at the various areas where an athlete passes by as he goes on for competition. Once an athlete leaves the athletics village or his hotel room, the first place where he lands is the warm-up area. In the warm-up area is where the athletes warm up before they go to the core rooms. Now, in the warm-up area, athletes can get yellow cards. Most athletes think they cannot get yellow carded in the warm-up area, but the following infringements can make them get a yellow card from the call room referee.
Okay, fine. Let's Betty finish up what she's explaining. Then maybe you can join in after. Okay. You can alternate between the two of you.
Okay, thank you.
Tom, I'm only doing warm-up area. And then you do the core rooms and the start. All right, okay, so I've said that an athlete can get a yellow card from the quorum referee who is in charge of the warm-up area, quorum 1, quorum 2, and also is the referee who is in charge of the athlete until he hands them over to the start line official, who is the start referee, or to the field referee. So any misconduct by an athlete in the warm-up area are 1, unsportsman behavior. What is a sportsman behavior? A sportsman behavior can be use of foul language, swear words, being unkind to athletes, other athletes, probably doing the middle finger bit, shouting at the volunteers and other officials who are in the warm-up area, refusing to share equipment, especially maybe hurdles, obstructing other athletes as they warm up in the warm-up area. If such an offense is reported to the person in charge, and then it reaches the referee, and there is enough evidence and maybe witnesses, the athlete at that point, even way before he starts his competition, can get a yellow card. Note that yellow card will be forwarded to the start referee. And as you'll be told later, in case he does a false start at the start, he will be disqualified because he already has 1 yellow card. Then there is also, all those are examples of improper behavior. On top of that, there is something called public health infringements in the warm-up area. As funny as it may sound, urinating or passing water spitting on the tartan, on the grounds, can also classify to be called an infringement, because different countries have different public health rules. I'll give an example, like in the UK, spitting on the track or grass or littering is a very gross behavior. Those are just a few of the infringements which athletes have to be careful so that they don't break them. They may not be written, but they are silent, but they are bookable offenses. So once the athlete leaves the warm-up area, his next step is call room 1. And I would ask Tom, kindly please take over from there if you are in a position.
Thank you, Betty. Within call room 1, from the warm-up area, we have been told that the referee, call room referee, is the one who takes charge of the call room all the way from the warm-up area. So for call room 1, we have athletes now being called in for checking within, they're coming from the warm-up area. In call room 1, this is the place where the athlete mostly is separated from the coach and other people who are escorting maybe the athletes now in preparation for the competition. And within the call room 1, they are just being prepared for either to go and be checked on the spikes, the number of size of spikes, the size in which they are going to use in the competition, and also their beep numbers, if at all they have their beep numbers. These are the numbers that are put in front while the athlete is running, because that is the one which is going to make the identification of the athlete while in the field of play. And then also the kind of gadgets that are not required to be in the field of play. Thank you, thank you. As I was saying, also gadgets like electronics, cameras, or things that are not supposed to be used in the field of play. They will be checked in call room 1, and also time schedule. There's something we call the time schedule. This is a list or the time at which athletes should move from one call room to the other, and also within from call room 2 to the field of play. Now, if these athletes don't adhere to the protocols that have been observed from call room 1 by the call room manager in call room 1, a yellow card might also be issued, as we have been told earlier on. This yellow card, once issued, one yellow card, it means now the competition secretary will be informed of this warning. And if another yellow card is issued to the same athlete, is going now to be followed by a red card, meaning this athlete is not going to participate in the competition or in the field of play. That means the reporting that is coming from the call room manager is going to take us now to the next place, where now it will be the call room 2. The call room 2, we have the call room manager who is going to check on other issues also. That will be the late coming. If in call room.
So we were talking about infringements in the quorum. We have said quorum 1 basically is just a gathering point where the officials just check that the number of athletes in a certain event are all present. And I've said the infringements in quorum 1 is coming late, the same to quorum 2. If you come late and you don't have a proper explanation, then the quorum referee can disallow you to continue. Another one is no show of confirmed athletes. That means you confirm that you participate. Maybe you ran in heat 1 and then you don't appear to the quorum for maybe the semis and the finals. That one is also an infringement. And then not complying with the clothing and shoes rules. And here, this is the biggest problem most quorum officials and referees have. For example, the sole diameter for every track event should be between 13 and 19 millimeters. But what we are getting nowadays in the quorum is a bit of modification, which some athletes usually try to put on, and even especially in the middle distances and the 10,000 meters, if the officials are not keen, some of them will run with sneakers. So we check there. The spike nails length is supposed to be 9 millimeters, and the maximum number of spikes per shoe should not pass around 11 spikes. But how they are placed on the shoe is the manufacturer's business. Another issue which is also checked and sometimes they don't check is the bibs, the cloth or the kit which the athlete is putting. Sometimes somebody has the team kit, but there's a bit of advertisement. I don't want to name the sports companies. The advertiser, there's a rule on advertising on kits. So if somebody walks into the quorum and is running for Team Kenya, but has on the vest, there's another, is advertising a shoe company or a sports company, we simply put, we cover it up with tape. But if the athlete is also doesn't want it to be covered, then we have no choice but to ask the athlete to leave, and he gets a yellow card, and his team manager and others are informed. Tom had mentioned the issue of gadgets. Yes, athletes are allowed to move all the way from the warm-up area with their headphones, with music booming in their ears, but once they reach the quorum 2, those things are confiscated, put in a sealable bag with their accreditation, and they are moved to the TIC, that is the Technical Information Center, where the athlete will pick his gadgets after the competition on his way out, maybe to the hotel room. So those are some of the infringements in the quorum, which can lead you to get a yellow card. But if you had picked another one in the warm-up area or in quorum 1, your journey to start the race is okay. But once an athlete has complied, then he's ready for the start. So we move now to the most controversial, most heartbreaking, but the easiest rule to keep, which most athletes do not keep, or is it out of tension or stress, they break them. So we have the start infringements. I can see on the slide it's written starting line, but it's supposed to read start line infringements. Once the athletes leave quorum 2, they are ushered into the field of play where their event is supposed to start. 100 meters, 200 meters, 815, they all go to their starting point. And now they are handed over to another referee. Now the quorum referee hands them over to the start referee who will start the race. We are not here to teach everybody how a start is done. We are here to teach you on fouls or infringements which can be done at the start, and the athlete gets a yellow card or even a red card and does not proceed on his journey, maybe of competition. So the first one is delay to follow the starter's command. For the short races, which are 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 100 meters hurdles, and 100 meters and 400 meters hurdles, the command is usually on your marks, set, and then you wait for the call of the gun. or the report of the gun. But athletes delay the start in the following ways. They may raise their hand up, they may stand up, they may even sit up without a valid reason. Once the starter notes the following, the referee will also have noticed the following, and the athlete will receive a yellow card for delaying the start. The second way is failing to comply with the command of the starter by not placing themselves in the final starting position at once and without delay. Here it means the athlete is told on your marks, they're supposed to move from the boxes to the starting blocks. But some athletes jump up and down, high-five the fans and cheer them, and that means they are wasting time. And in the process, they waste time. You find that all the others are on their marks, they're already on the blocks, but you are busy delaying the start. So for that, you get a yellow card. And then after the command on your marks and then set, an athlete disturbs the others through making some sounds, movement. And which movements are these? Some of the athletes move their hips up and down, up and down. And in that case, they make the neighboring athletes to lose their concentration. As such, one, the starter will be forced to abort the start, and in the process, you will get a yellow card for that. Those are delaying tactics which are used by athletes, and which all of them, you will see them getting a yellow card. Now, the next one is the false start. Now, a false start happens when an athlete begins their start or their race without receiving the report of the gun. So they are told on your marks, set, and this athlete takes off without waiting for the gun. So any motion by an athlete that includes and results in one or both feet losing contact with the foot plates of the starting blocks is a false start. Or if one or both hands lose contact with the ground just before the start line, is going to land you into trouble. It's going to be a false start. And for all the members who are listening and the participants, we saw recently in Budapest, the female athletes, I think this is a warning, and coaches should advise the athletes, when you put your nail extensions and the weaves on the wigs which they are putting on, make sure the nail extensions do not pass the start line. So the longer the nails you have, the more disadvantage you have, because they have to be behind the start line. Somebody might ask, what about the wig? Yes, ladies are putting weaves and wigs of 45 inches, which hang when they are on their marks and set, and they go and touch the start line ahead, then you'll be told that you already have done a foul, so they need to hold their hair in a bun at the back, or if they leave it loose, they should make sure the length does not pass the start line. Then we have, now, there is a lot of technology in the start, because in the start line, there are two things. There's the start information system, which is an automatic system, which will detect any glitch, any pressure, which the athlete will put on the starting blocks, such that any pressure which is more than 0.100 will automatically produce a cursor sound on the starter's headphones, and on the screen, the lane will be indicated. And for that case, the referee will just print out a no, lane 7, lane 4 did this, and they will be able to see the athlete who plays too much pressure. And how does too much pressure come in? It means the athlete had begun taking off, continuous movement, and was on his way to take off. In the latest World Championship, Seiko has also introduced a new method apart from the starters information system. They have introduced the video information system, the VIS. So the video clip is also being captured by the microsecond movement of the athlete, so that it is now almost impossible for an athlete to win a case on a start infringement if they feel they were the foul. A warning to the coaches: you may train your athletes in the best high performance centers in the world, but if they don't comply with the start and all the start procedures, then the athlete will not be able to participate. Then there's something called the visual macho. You look as the starter, because you're the one who has the finger on the trigger of the gun. You can observe using your naked eye and see that lane 2 has begun the motion. And if I don't shoot or don't fire the gun, then that athlete is actually going to take off. By visual, you can save the athlete the embarrassment by asking them, all of them, to stand up. You are both the race yourself as the starter. Some of these start referees, of the starters, are very humane, and you saw that in Budapest, and I think even in Kenya, and I'm sure in most African countries, some of these things are going to become a thing of the past. So that is all about the start line infringements, which are very disastrous and emotionally breaking to the athlete who has been yellow carded for delay. But for false starts, all of them are red cards. Delay can be a yellow card, but if the reason is not valid, then you get a red card. So for the start, I think we need a whole session or we need to get a tutor to tutor the athletes on the start. But usually start is a technical issue, which is usually handled by a start referee, and it's a whole course by itself, probably taking 7 weeks. It's not very easy. But I think for the fundamentals for the athletes, that is okay. So starting infringements, now for races, 800, 1500, and 3000. So we have said now all the sprints are crouch starts. All of them are crouch start. That means the athlete has to kneel down. Now for the standing starts are usually any race from 800, 1500, 3000 steeplechase, 5000, 10,000. All those, the athletes start their races when they are standing. So again, can athletes do infringements when they are doing the standing start? Yes. When they're lining up on the line, they are not supposed to move their 2 feet or any motion that results in one or both feet losing contact with the ground, and then they cross the start line before the gun. So that one will be considered as an infringement. Now that one is for the start. Other infringements in the middle distance and long distance, they include failure to run within the allocated lanes up to the brake line, braking before the brake line. And then people ask, what is this brake line? The brake line is the line which happens from the start to the first bend, a few meters from the first bend after the finish is the break line, which is usually clearly marked with. The break line shall be an arced line marked after the first bend, 5 centimeters wide across all lanes except lane 1. And it is usually marked by small cones of contrasting color from the tartan color. And they are usually placed on the lane lines immediately before the intersection of the lane lines and the break line. So there are some athletes who decide they will run, then just before those cones, they break before the break line. Then we have obstruction. Obstruction this is intentional jostling that impedes the progression of an athlete. That is whereby an athlete is running and then somebody obstructs them. Usually it can be done through elbowing, or you find that somebody wants to overtake from the outer lane, and then you move also to the outer lane and obstruct them. Now, when it comes to obstruction, I have seen from my many years of experience in the field, especially from 1,500, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, most athletes there's a lot of spiking. They injure one another because they're packed together. And most of them, because they don't want to have injuries on their thighs and ankles, they run off. They'll run on lane 4, lane 5, but sometimes they will still get obstruction. Another infringement is stepping or running on the inside of the curb or the marked markings on the curb. This one is self-explanatory in the field. If you step on the curb, you're out. But in the recent World Athletics rules, I've seen they have allowed athletes to step out once and then they can come back. But that one should be noted by the umpire, but he cannot step out twice in a particular race. Then when you are obstructed, it doesn't mean you can also save yourself from the obstruction. The only thing you should save yourself from the obstruction by running on other lanes, on the outer lanes. But sometimes we find athletes are boxed, especially in 800 meters and 1,500 meters, especially in the last round after the bell. So some athletes find themselves boxed. Boxed, that means they are behind 3 athletes, 3 of them ahead of them, and you're the 4th one. So sometimes they want to improve their position by any means. So they want to remove themselves from this box position. They take one step off onto the grass and then back by overtaking the 3 who are ahead of them. And that is what we call gaining material advantage. And once that is noted, then of course you will get a disqualification for that. Another one is leaving the track. This one is very common in 5,000 and 10,000 meters. Some athletes, by the time 5,000 is 12 laps. By the time they reach the 6th lap, they hide, they leave the track, maybe hide behind a billboard somewhere. Then when there are remaining 2 laps, they wait for the pack, which is big, and they sneak in to the track. The rule is once you leave the track, you cannot go in and finish the race. Actually, it should be did not finish because you started. But in international events, this is very difficult. But I know in our continental and our national events, some of these things are not news to us. We have seen them. Now, infringements in 1,500, now this one is from 5,000 to 10,000. Apart from the start infringements and the obstruction, in 5,000 and 10,000, on a very hot day, we have water points. So there's something called assistance infringement. So in a hot day, water is usually given to the athletes by the LOC, and it is placed on the street, on the back streets, where the athletes are able to pick the water and the sponges to sponge themselves. That is usually 5,000 and 10,000. The infringement here is very easy. Once an athlete picks water from the water point, he is supposed to drink it. If another athlete asking for assistance, he can give only once to one athlete, and that is all. But some athletes don't pick water from the water point, and then they rely on several athletes who have picked water. So you find an athlete has been assisted by 3 different athletes. So who gets the disqualification? The one who received the assistance. And when it is discovered later on that even in the other lap, the other one also assisted him, then even the giver of the assistance can also get a yellow card. Another infringement on this one also is you carry your own water, or somebody on the track sneaks in and gives you water which was not provided from the water point, then that is an assistance infringement. And usually the effect is disqualification. And so those are the disqualifications in the middle and long distance. I don't know if Tom is back on air or he went on.
Up to where you've reached, I think I'll continue from 110 and proceed from there. For 110 meters, I'll just go straight to the point. 110 meters, there's always the start where you have been explained about information system from the start block. And in 110 hurdles, the infringements are quite a number of them. One, on the starting block, this one is approach start to start with, to begin with. It's a sprint and it's an approach start. It is not like the staggered start or the standing starts like the 5,000, 1,500, 800, and the ones going up to 10,000. This one, you crouch. Now, the pressure applied on the blocks also matters. If you exert too much pressure and maybe the report of the gun has not yet been reported or the gun has not yet been fired, then definitely the recording system will record this one as a false start. Now, if a false start occurs, this one now, according to the system, it will be regarded as an infringement and the red card will be issued immediately for the disqualification. 2, sometimes an athlete can go before the gun and maybe the recording on the SI system is not exactly a false start. So the referee on this particular time will issue a green card to just employ that now the athletes, though no athlete has committed an infringement, but in case there was something that has been done and a yellow card has been issued on this particular time, then that will be a warning to this particular athlete. Also, if this athlete had a yellow card before, then a second yellow card will automatically mean this athlete is out of the race because it will be an automatic disqualification. Also, when the start has gone successfully for the 110, and I also imply also on the 400 hurdles, once the start has gone on successfully, then this means if there is the trailing of the leg over the hurdles,
Now, that one is also part of the infringement in this particular event. It's a bit technical, and that is why even when umpires are positioned to check these small infringements that are not normally seen by everyone. So once that is done, the track referee or the umpire who has seen this infringement and where it has occurred will come and make sure that the same has been reported to the track judge and also to the competition secretary, whereby the appropriate action will be taken. Also, some athletes sometimes, due to maybe the high speed or maybe the way they are running, something happens. They don't go over the hurdle. That will mean now maybe some of them might even be cheeky and even maybe go below the hurdle or even aside or even in other person's lane. Then this means that is an infringement and it deserves either disqualification or a warning from the specific referee. Now, the lanes, all sprints are mostly put in, you run within your lane and don't run along the lane, because along the lanes, you will be causing also an infringement, and that one will be a mistake when you run along the lines. But within the lanes, you're supposed to run within your lanes from start to finish. That is in the sprints. And also, in the 800 meters, the staggered ones, you run the first start up to the break line. Once you reach the break line, then you can curve in and use the inner lanes. So that is the process for the 110 and also including the 400 meters hurdles. Now, the 110, 400 meters hurdles and the 100 hurdles for women. For women, they do the 100 hurdles, not 110. So failing to run within your lane from start to finish, start from steeplechase, which don't use lanes. These ones now, for steeplechase, the infringement that can be caused is maybe going over the hurdle when another leg is not over the hurdle completely. You are trying to run on the side of the hurdle. You're trying to run trailing your leg. Now it is not even crossing over the hurdle the way it's supposed to be done. Now that one is an infringement and also might result into a warning by the referee. Failing to go over each hurdle in their lanes of foot leg trail besides or below the top of any hurdle. That one I've also talked about. And that's what I said before. And knocking down, displacing any hurdle by hand, body, or upper side of the lead leg. Some of the athletes, sometimes you might see, they always like, especially this one is mostly common in 110 and also 100 meters hurdles. They go knocking, deliberately knocking the hurdles down. So that one also, it's not something that is really allowed within the running or within the field of play. So that one deserves a warning, and also directly or indirectly knocking a hurdle in their lanes. That one I've also talked about. Now, as you continue running, some athletes have a tendency of causing obstructions, either by knocking the hurdles into the other person's lane, or even by hand or by part of the body, knocking the other person's or even touching the other person on the other lane. Now that will mean you have even crossed the lane to the other person's side. That one is also not allowed. And that one causes an infringement for the hurdles within the field of play. Now, just a bit for the not for the steeplechase. In the steeplechase also, you find that the first steeplechase hurdles have it's a bit longer than the other ones inside. This is because when they start the competition, most of them are quite a number, so they might tend to like crowd a bit. But as they go further, they tend to be lean within the running lanes. So that one, they can now go over the hurdles comfortably and pursue the races to the finish well. Next slide, John. Next slide, John, please. Now, we come to the relays. Relays is also part of the sprints mostly. These ones, they involve the crouch start, and they have also rules and regulations that govern the relay teams. If I may start with 4x400 mixed relay or 4x400 relays, within these events, there's always the start whereby the athletes who are participating are 4, each going for a complete 400 meters and handing over the baton. This is the stick, or what can I say? The baton is the relay stick that is being used to hand over to the next person so that the person can go around again and hand over until the 4th person has finished the race. Now, the handing over of the baton has its own rules. Once the race has started, the crouch start has started, and the race is successfully on its way, the athlete should run completely and come. During the handover of the baton, there are areas which we call the exchange zones within the relays. There is the exchange zone within 400 by 400 meters, and there's an exchange zone for the 4 by 100 meters. I will explain it later. The 4 by 400 meters, the exchange zones are always at the start of that race, mostly, and they are within the 20 meters range to exchange the baton. Now, once this one has started and it has gone successfully, during the finishing, some of the athletes, due to happiness or maybe excitement, they tend to throw the baton out or even in the sky or even down. This one is an infringement and can lead even to disqualification of that team. That baton is what each and every person is watching and looking at, apart from the one who is conveying the baton. So in this particular time, the baton has to be handled and given back to the referee or the managers within the finishing point. It is not supposed to be thrown, and it's not supposed to be mishandled. Now, during the 4 by 100 meters exchange zone, there are 3 different exchange zones within the 100 meters, 4 by 100 meters relay. And each and every exchange zone is 30 meters in length. But before there was the rule that it was supposed to be handled and exchanged within the 20 meters range, whereby we were having the acceleration of 10 meters, then the exchange is done within the 20 meters. But nowadays, the exchange can be done within the 30 meters range of the exchange zone for the 4 by 100 meters. There are different kinds of relay within the field of play and within athletics, so to speak. In relays, the movement of the baton and the athlete is one keenly observed for any infringement. As I spoke before, and as I said before, the baton is what every person is looking at, and even the timing or the electronic system is watching the baton. So any mishandling of that baton can result in an athlete being given a warning or a yellow card, or even being disqualified. False start, running without the baton. Sometimes the athletes might even be very fast and also drop the baton in such a way that they don't have time to come back and pick it from where they have dropped it from. The rule of any relay is that where the baton has been dropped, even if you drop the baton and you run ahead 10 meters or 20 meters, you're supposed to come back the 20 meters or the distance that you have covered without the baton and pick the baton from where you dropped it from and continue with the running. Now, some athletes decide that, okay, it is too late, they have already dropped the baton, and they continue running. So running without the baton, that one is an automatic disqualification because we are not looking at how you are running. We are just impressed with how the baton is being conveyed from one point to the other. Finishing the race without the baton, that's another thing, because once you dropped it and you forgot where you even dropped it and you didn't pick it up, then that race, you just consider it as the one who has finished without that baton is not even listed within the placing of the event. Fault at carrying the baton, e.g. using gloves. This one definitely is not even allowed. You cannot come with gloves because now this one will lead to cheating, whereby some of them might even glue that baton to the gloves. It's just a wild guess, but the gloves are not allowed during the competition, so you cannot use that. And then fault at recovering a dropped baton. That is what I talked about earlier, whereby the rule is where you dropped the baton, you have to go back the same distance and then pick up the baton, or even if the baton had gone 50 meters ahead, you need to go back from where it dropped from and start the race from there. Passing the baton outside the takeover zone. Now, this is another infringement that the umpires are always very keen at in each and every exchange zone area. Once you have been given the 30 meters distance of the exchange zone, and by mistake, you give the baton to the next athlete who is supposed to pick it and picks it outside the marked zones, then definitely that one is an automatic disqualification because you have not followed the rules and regulations of the relay that is supposed to be done. And also, sometimes when the athlete is outside the zone whereby the exchange zone is supposed to be, the baton is supposed to be exchanged, but the hand and the baton is still inside the zone, that one is not an infringement. The only infringement is when the baton has crossed the line that is supposed to have not crossed before it is handed over to the next athlete. Impeded at takeover. Some of them have that kind of hit and run, or maybe they hit one another or they knock one another, and then they end up like dropping the baton, and even it goes to the other person's lane or the other team's lane, and they end up causing some bit of havoc when they are doing the exchange of the baton. Next slide, please. Now, during the finishing, as I spoke earlier, the finishing really has some of the things that athletes do, not maybe when they want it, but maybe without knowing. So before they're crossing the finishing line, some of the arms fly while still running because of obstruction. Most of the athletes who might be in position to overtake from behind. Some of the athletes sometimes always do this, especially in 800 meters until 10,000. You find that an athlete sometimes tries to obstruct the other one who is trying to overtake. That one is not very much allowed. Even in sprints, When you are in your own lane and you end up spreading your arms wide or even being on the side of your lane, but it's like more or less you're obstructing the other person on that particular lane that you're on the side of. So that one is also an infringement, and it might even bring a disqualification on that particular athlete who has caused that, depending on how the referee or the track referee has observed it and seen it. Now, relays. It's like just what I've explained earlier, sorry. Taking the baton from another team is not also allowed, because there are some athletes who might decide to even take the other person's baton, or even during the exchange, when it has dropped and it has reached the athlete faster, they tend like to take the other person's baton. That one is not allowed. Running more than one leg. There are some athletes who maybe have taken some bit of energizer and they tend to think they can go more than the leg or more than the distance that has been measured for them. No matter how fast you are, you cannot run more than one leg, or you cannot go more than the distance that you are supposed to cover. So that one is not allowed. Like, for example, in 4x100, one decides, okay, I will start from here and I will have the baton in the 200 exchange zone. That one is not allowed. So that one is an infringement, and you are just supposed to cover the distance that you have been measured to cover. Using more than 4 substitutes. That is why I said during the start of the race, the 4x400 and also the 4x100 or the 4x200, the athletes, the ones who are running in the track, are supposed to be 4. But in the registration, they are always registered 6. This also, they are the ones who are the spares. Maybe in case of anything or you want to substitute, they are the ones to be there. But the ones who are running, you cannot run more than 4. You will always be 4. Or not more than 4. It's always 4. Now, leaving the assigned before the break line. Now, that is in 4x400 meters. The exchange zone, the 20 meters I talked about within the exchange zone, some of them either try to like continue going and do the exchange ahead of where the mark zone is supposed to end. That one is not very much allowed. That one is also an infringement. Assigned early, so leaving the assigned lane early also is another thing. You are not supposed to leave early, because once you leave early, definitely the handing off of the baton, you will make it will propel you or will prompt you to be handed over the baton after the lane that is not supposed to be crossed. Starting running outside the takeover zone. Maybe this is due to maybe imbalance, or during the 4x100, some of them get a bit imbalanced and maybe they squeeze within the lanes. So you're supposed to share your lane with your partner as you do the exchange. Don't try to like go to the other person's lane, which will bring either obstruction or will cause some other ideas that will make the other team maybe to lose or launch a complaint against your team. Exchanging positions before the takeover zone. Now, during the 4x400 meters, mostly, there is a position whereby the track referee aligns the athletes who are coming to receive the baton for the next leg according to the athletes who will reach the 200-meter mark, the ones who are still running. After the 200-meter mark, according to how he has arranged them, you're not supposed to change that position. You're supposed to wait, even if at the 200-meter mark, your athlete was number 1 and he has been overtaken to number 4. You're not supposed to change your position and go to lane 4 to wait for that baton. You're supposed to remain where you are. Anything after the 200-meter mark that has been lined up, you're not supposed to change it. So that is what exchanging positions before the takeover means. And then jostling obstruction at takeover. That one is very common. We even saw with the previous World Championships that a certain team, during the takeover of the baton, one of them was jostled, and the other one fell down, others like ran on top of you. So that one also is an infringement that if the team found to have committed such kind of a fault or an obstruction is supposed to be warned, and out of that, being given a yellow card for that particular team or that particular athlete. A yellow card for an athlete in the relays means a yellow card for the team, not the particular athlete. It's for the team. So that means that team has a yellow card once you have been issued a yellow card by the referee. And if that athlete, or not the same athlete, but a different athlete gets another yellow card, it's also a yellow card for the team. Now that means that team has 2 yellow cards, meaning it has to be disqualified and begin given a red card immediately once it has been given the second yellow card. Next slide, John. Oh,
Next slide.
I can see the next slide is question. Thank you. That is all about the relays and the other ones. I'm sorry about the technical hitch that I had before, but I think now I can be ready for the questions and answers. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Tom and Betty. That was quite elaborate. I also learned a lot. I believe all the participants have learned quite a lot too. The floor is opened for questions or any clarifications. Even me, I have 2 or 3 clarifications that I would like both of you to assist me with. First, I didn't really quite get when someone is given a yellow card. Are you notified that you already have one, so you should avoid getting the second one? And my second question is, or clarification that I had wanted maybe Betty to confirm or to go over again, is in the call room 2, where you check the spikes, the length, the size of advertisements, and any other requirement, maybe the beeps, those items or those key issues that are checked in call room 2. And then the last clarification I would like you to make again is on the hurdles, 100 meters hurdles or 110. If an athlete knocks like all the hurdles and becomes number 1, he didn't knock them willingly. They just happened as he tries to jump and is not able to make the full jump. Is he punished for that? Or at what point is someone punished when they knock the hurdles in the 100 or 110 races? Thank you.
All right, John, and for all the participants, I'll only do 2, and then the issue of the hurdles, Tom can assist me. Now, the issue of the yellow card. A yellow card is issued by any referee. So once you get a yellow card, on the start list, it is usually communicated to the competition secretary. Once a yellow card is mentioned for John Ogola, the quorum referee will record yellow card John Ogola, and it will be automatically keyed against your name via radio to all the referees in the championship. So if you get a yellow card from the quorum manager in the warm-up area, by the time you reach quorum 1, the quorum manager already has the detail that so-and-so has a yellow card. So by the time you reach quorum 2 and you have a spike, you have 13 spikes on your shoe, then again, the quorum manager in quorum 2 will inform the quorum referee that this athlete who has already received a yellow card from the warm-up area now gets another yellow card from the quorum manager, quorum 2, and now the referee will issue a red card. And once the red card is issued, again, it is communicated to the competition secretary, who now puts a DQ, disqualification, on the name of that athlete in all subsequent events. Let's say he was a sprinter for 100 meters, that means he cannot do the 4x100 meter release. I hope I have explained myself properly on the issue of the yellow card. The yellow card is just a warning. 2 warnings equals 1 red card.
You
Now
did,
we go
but
to the call. Yes.
You did, but is the athlete, I wanted to find out, is notified that they have that warning?
Yes, yeah, usually it is like when a traffic policeman stops you, he tells you the reason why you have received the yellow card is 1, 2, and 3 reasons. So you are just not issued a yellow card, you're usually told, I'm warning you because of unsporting behavior, improper conduct, shoe violation, bib violation, and that is it. If they
Clear.
want, they can appeal.
That's clear. Thank you.
Then you asked about the checks in the quorum.
Yeah, call room 2.
Quorum 2. I said the one of the failures in the quorum 2 is the bips. If you are wearing the inappropriate bips, that means there is a specified team kit and the team bib which you must wear. If you are not wearing the specified team kit, that's a violation. If you don't, failing to observe the advertiser's rule in the event, you will be taped up or obscured. And if it is too large, you will be told, you'll be asked not to run. And of course, that is a disqualification. And the quorum referee will do the obvious. And then the shoes must have the correct specifications. We said the sole diameter of the spike should be between 13 and 19 millimeters. The spike nail length should not be more than 9 millimeters. And the maximum number of spikes should be 11 spikes on the shoe. And then the athlete must not use any appliances, either inside or outside the shoe, which will have the effect of increasing the thickness of the sole or to give them any advantage. And Ogola, before I forget, World Athletics is even considering having something called the underwear rule. That one we shall discuss it in another webinar, but this is whereby athletes are putting clothes under their shorts or under their vests, which when they're running, they raise or lower down. That is common in field events to advertise a certain brand of items. That is why we are calling it underwear rule. It's in the process, it is baking. Probably now that in the quorum, we will have to have very serious checks on the athletes. On the issue of hurdles, if I'm wrong, Tom can correct me. You said if an athlete knocks down all the 14 flights of hurdles on his leg, there are 10 flights of hurdles in 100 or 110 or 400 meters hurdles and gets position 1. The question is, how did he knock them down? Was it deliberate or was it
accidental?
Yes, was it accidental? But did he go over them fast and then they fell, or he dropped them and then jumped over them? So that is now where
that one a little Yes, according to it, it is very true. Maybe I can just say about the hurdles. According to the rules, if there is the knocking down of the hurdles, especially let me use the 100 meters hurdles or the 110 meters hurdles. If there's the knocking down of the hurdles by an athlete, maybe if he or she does not want or deliberately, if it interferes with the next persons or the other persons on the other lane or the athlete on the other lane, anyway to cause an obstruction, then that one is an infringement. But if so possible, the athlete knocks all the hurdles in his lane, that one, as long as it has not caused any obstruction, that one cannot necessarily lead to a disqualification. But in doing so, as you continue knocking these hurdles, if you knock it with another part of your body, either maybe by hand or any other part that is not the lead leg, now that one is also an obstruction. And it might result to a warning or might result to an infringement. Lastly, if you knock all your hurdles and it has not caused any infringement or obstruction or anything, the problem comes in whereby the more you continue knocking these hurdles, the slower you are. So other people who are clearing the hurdles the way it's supposed to be, they are much faster. So it is to your disadvantage. If you want to continue knocking them until the last hurdle, that is okay. But it is to your disadvantage. So I think, John, I've answered that.
Yeah, sure you have. So if I want to continue knocking them down, that's up to me.
Yes, but it should just have the lead leg, not with any other part of your body, but there's a way and a sequence on how it's supposed to be done.
Okay, that's clear. So the floor is
Yes.
open. Any other participant with a question or any clarification to be made? Mr. Kipto, you want to say something?
Negative. Maybe just a clarification.
Kindly.
Am I loud? Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Initially, I have not checked on the current updates about the finish line rules, but I've seen some athletes dive at finish line, and it was not considered an infringement initially. But maybe the coaches can guide us. What are the current rules regarding diving the finish line, especially for the short races and the middle distance races?
Maybe John, I can answer that.
Kindly go ahead.
There are times when you see athletes running, and during the finishing, what mostly is considered as maybe not being an obstruction or it is a clear finish, whatever is being looked at is something we call the torso. There is a way that finish line and maybe the photo finish or the finishing part of
From you are breaking.
There's the torso and maybe up to the. Hello? Am I clear now?
Okay, now go ahead, but we didn't hear anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, kindly go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that we always consider the torso. And the torso is way between from the neck up to the, somehow around the belly. That is what is mostly considered. Now, when you see these athletes diving, is because maybe they are trying to make sure that they reach the finish line with the torso first. And that's why you'll see some of the athletes also have the more or less, they call it the photo finish, whereby all of them lean forward so that whoever whose torso is ahead, or even just by the finish of a whisker or a bust, it's a bit ahead of the other. Now that one is the one who has been considered a winner. So diving, it doesn't matter as long as you are running and you have not caused any obstruction. Whether you dive, the only thing we are trying to look at is the torso. So even if you dive and you dive with your legs in the front or your legs first, we will not consider the legs. We will consider when the torso will reach the finish line. So that is what is really measured upon, not any other part. That's why you see all the athletes, most of them tend to even dive so that the torso can reach the finish line first. As long as you have not caused any obstruction, as long as you have not jostled anyone, and as long as you have not pushed anyone on the lane. I hope that I've answered that one, Victor. Maybe I would just say that according to the infringements that are always laid upon, the rules, most of these infringements, some of them, maybe they have been changed a bit. And with the new system within the World Athletics, anytime it changes, the information always comes forth. So sometimes the rules that have been applied before nowadays don't apply, because even at this particular time, we also saw there are some rules, especially during the qualification of particular events. Some of them were using maybe qualification by time or qualification by placing, but now that one is another time's discussion. The qualification by time, but nowadays it's only qualification by placing for some of the events. So I think that one, these rules also keep on changing. So the infringements also, we need to consider and see how they really apply. But as long as they are working out and the rules are there, we tend to have the discussion. But the referees mostly are the ones who bring up the discussion and maybe bring up the conclusion of anything that happens within the field. And then whatever has been concluded goes now to other different channels whereby the infringement can be considered an infringement, or it can be reconsidered for a different result. So I think that one is what I can just add. And also, thank you very much for any of this particular time, because it has really also, I've learned something and how the technology goes. And I'm really grateful and hopeful that having maybe next time, we'll have a better way to make sure the communication goes on well. And thank you very much, John, for even hosting me into this edition of today. Thank you.
Welcome, Tom. Anything from Betty? And as we wait for her to come on, we've shared a link on our chat box. We're looking forward to having your reviews. As Tom, you've said, anything that we can do to better or increase the quality of such sessions would really appreciate. And for those who did not receive a direct invitation, you can probably share your number in the chat box, and then we can always our main contact list, so that whenever we have anything, you can always get them directly. Yes, Betty, you can.
Oh, thank you very much for the session. It has been quite a mouthful, but it is very, very important that athletes, when they enter into the track, they understand what exactly awaits them. It can either be a medal or a yellow or a red card. So months and months of sweat and training can either be fruitful or unfruitful, depending on how they respect the technical rules in the track. I'm kindly requesting if we can have a session on field events, and maybe we can rope in other people. Several people have been asking. I think people are just forgot the time. They think 4 to 5 is too early. Some are in traffic and others. Maybe we can sit together, John, and organize that, and we'll see how we can help it. But otherwise, I think we have helped. And if there's anybody who needs more help on this, athletics is changing daily, on a daily basis. And then unless our athletes know what is ahead of them, then they board flights to championships in vain. It is as bitter as that, and because that is the bitter truth. In the relays, just for the coaches and maybe people in athletics who are in this forum, the coming year, that is 2024, is very, this webinar was very, very important for coaches, because we have now the African Games, which are going to be held in Ghana. And still, we have the World Indoors in Glasgow. And in all those events, the most, especially in the indoor games, all the sprints up to 800 will be there, plus the relays. So if you can share this information to all the coaches, and they practice slowly by slowly until the athletes get it and get it very well, then I am sure we will not be having some embarrassing issues we usually have, where our top athletes get red carded at the start, or when we mix up on our relays, or when our athletes cannot clear the hurdles, or they cannot clear the steeplechase barriers. So I wish everybody a very good evening. And John, thank you very much. And all your members of your company, thank you for having me. And we hope to have more fruitful discussions. And may God bless all of you.
Thank you so much, Betty and Tom. For the participants, you can see the contacts are on the screen for the two, in case you need to reach out to them personally. All these lessons are recorded, and they will be shared in our website, our YouTube account, for anyone to refer to them at any given time. They are for free. We don't charge anything. So once we edit a few things here and there, we sign we sign language, interpret it, and then have it on the website. So this is something that will be there for everyone to see. I mean, forever, as long as the company is alive. Another thing, Betty and Tom, thank you for this session. I know we're looking forward to having another one, which will focus basically on field events and outside stadium, races like marathon, road races, and walk. So we will just maybe schedule a day, either before the end of the year or early next year, for the second session of this. Otherwise, I'm very grateful, guys, for your attendance, and looking forward to seeing you again. Our website link has been shared on the chat box. You can click on it. It will lead you to the link. You can go through it later on. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for turning up, and I would like to bring this session to an end, but also request the two presenters to remain behind as others are dropping off, so that we can, clear a few things here and there. But Guta, kindly let us know if there's a call before the telephone number that you provided in the chat box.